So I wanted to see if you guys think this is a better representation than what the players had. All right. So just right off the top, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the very top of the list. Patrick Mahomes is number one, followed by Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson, Myles Garrett, and Josh Allen. So right off the jump, Tyreek Hill, who is number one in the players poll, is not even in the top five here. And then Patrick Mahomes is number one. Do you think that gives advantage to ESPN or the players?
I think ESPN for this simple reason. Sometimes, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen with ESPN, but sometimes players hold grudges. And
Sure.
Jamar Chase, there's video of him going, I'm not going to say it. Joe Burrow's the best quarterback. So I think sometimes players hold grudges, and that could be the case. So I do think this is a little bit more of an accurate placement.
Now, we did play the highlight of Deron Bland coming back. He is not in the top 100. In fact, there's only 4 Cowboys players in the top 100, just like there were in the NFL players top 100. But Deron Bland, in case you missed the news, I'm guessing you haven't, but in case you missed the news, stress fracture in his foot. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. Now, that comes from a time that the regular season is 2 weeks away. So you can think in your head, does that mean he will miss 4 to perhaps 6 games?
I didn't even think about that. Was it 6 to 8 game weeks?
No, it's 6 to 8 weeks. And so you still have 2 weeks, not game weeks, until...
Are we going back to Wednesday when he heard it?
Yeah, I was going from when they made the announcement. It still fits.
Hopefully it's not as long as Josh Young's recovery was.
True.
That was one of those where we were like, what? And when is it going to happen?
But when you think about him being out 4 to 6 weeks, that's what we were touching on in the opening segment about why maybe they'll go one more heavy at cornerback. All right. Who are the 4 Cowboys, if there's only 4, that should be in the top 100?
CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
Micah.
Yep.
Dak.
Yep.
Trayvon Diggs.
Nope.
Zack Martin.
Yep. Why did you say it like that?
I guess Trayvon missing last year is a big factor here, but he's one of the best corners in the league.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I feel like I would put him above Zack Martin on the list of top Cowboys right now. It's nothing against Zack Martin. Zack Martin's still great. He's a little bit different than younger Zack Martin, but he's still fantastic right guard for you. So,
okay.
But that's what I have. I would have those 5 because I have to.
Okay.
I would add Zack Martin to this list, too.
Sure.
I just think Trayvon should be on it as well.
Do you think Tyler Smith should be on
it? I think he will be on it.
Okay.
He needs to add a couple more All-Pros to his resume, some more Pro Bowls, and then people start looking at it.
I have to admit, I definitely understand what you're saying. I'm surprised that Tyler Smith didn't crack either one of these lists because he was second team All-Pro. So I'm a little surprised by that. All right, top 4 Cowboys. Once again, it goes very heavy, top heavy for the Cowboys. We talked about it. I think Zack Martin was 51, give or take, on the NFL players list. He is 34 on this list, and that's the lowest ranked Cowboy.
Wow.
So
it's the Cowboys are top heavy, though.
Yes.
That's what it is.
So the bad news is if you're not going to put Diggs or Bland or Ferguson or Smith in there, it makes the Cowboys look like they don't have the most depth in the world. I realize averaged out it would be 3 per team, but there are plenty of other teams that have more than 4 on this list.
You think Tyler Guyton's going to get on this list at some point?
Man, if Tyler Guyton gets on this list in the next 2 years, then we did it again.
We did it again.
Do nothing but take offensive linemen in the first round because you can't freaking miss on that.
You're good at it.
Dak Prescott, number 27 on the list.
How many quarterbacks are in front of him?
There are 5 quarterbacks in front of him, and this is what I want to see if you guys think this is fair. Because ESPN clearly have a grouping of quarterbacks,
okay,
right? So here's the first grouping. Patrick Mahomes is number 1. Lamar Jackson this is the overall rating.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson's 2. Josh Allen is 5. Joe Burrow is 13. CJ Stroud is 15. There's no quarterback between Stroud at 15 and Dak Prescott at 27. So that feels like ESPN is saying, this is our top group of 5.
All right, do me another favor now.
Okay.
Are there any other quarterbacks close right behind him?
I am prepared for that question. Tell me if you think this is the group he fits in. Dak Prescott is 27. Justin Herbert is 28. Brock Purdy is 30. Jalen Hurts is 32. So what I'm saying is,
so that's where he is.
There's nobody between 15 and 27, and then 27 to 32 has 4 quarterbacks. And the group that Dak would be in is Herbert, Purdy, and Jalen Hurts. So I wanted to ask y'all, do you think that's a fair grouping to have him in? I still remain adamant that Justin Herbert is ranked too high, but that seems to be the way that these go.
Justin Herbert almost didn't go in my fantasy draft this weekend. I was shocked by that. Yeah, I was shocked that he was still available. I think this is pretty accurate, and it's one thing that really is the reason that Dak's as high as he is, but also as low as he is. And it's the one thing. He's really good in the regular season. There's no doubt about it. There are things that you're just like, all of the things that you ask of him, he does very well in the regular season. It's the postseason that is holding this back. That's why he's that low. That's why he's right where he is because the postseason success doesn't exist. And it's also why C.J. Stroud is as high as he is right now. The regular season was good, and he had postseason success with lots of future and promise ahead of him. So that's where I think this is pretty accurate.
Okay. All right. Now,
and I'm also pretty happy because where did you say CeeDee Lamb was?
Oh, yeah. So I guess I just told you those. Would you put Micah or CeeDee Lamb higher?
I think CeeDee.
Okay. Alec?
I'd go CD as well.
Okay. CeeDee Lamb, number 11 on the list.
Okay, so I think Mike is then higher.
Top 10 go like this. Interesting, Chris Jones is 12. So I just wanted to give you some context for that. Yeah.
Super Bowl champion?
Chris Jones, 12. CeeDee Lamb, 11. I told you the top 5. Here's the rest of the top 10. TJ Watt is 10. Christian McCaffrey is 9. That feels low. Tyreek Hill is 8. That also kind of feels low. Micah is 7, and Jamar Chase is 6. What do you think about Jamar Chase being ahead of Micah, but probably more importantly, being ahead of CeeDee Lamb? So they have ESPN has CeeDee Lamb as the 4th best wide receiver because it goes Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and then CeeDee Lamb.
Which I think you can pick any of those 4, and you're going to be very happy. And Jamar Chase, his rookie season was more explosive. Like, he was fantastic.
Sure.
Injuries have kind of limited him just a little bit, and Joe Burrow injuries have limited him a little bit too. So I don't disagree with it. I think that CeeDee Lamb has progressed every season that he's been in the league, and that's been the big factor for CD is he keeps getting better. What is the ceiling for the guy as you continue to try and make a ceiling for him?
Will he progress again this season, I guess is my next question, because the projected stat line for CeeDee Lamb, and I want to make sure people are on board with this, I think would be maybe viewed as disappointing, even though it would still be a huge year. 113 catches for 1,408 yards and 9 touchdowns. So that would be down 22 receptions from last year, more than 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it feels like that would be viewed as a disappointment, even though that is still a monster season. But assuming he plays because he's going to get paid, I know he's still under contract, I think people would be disappointed in that.
Yeah, that 92-yard reception is a huge chunk. Like, he needs a couple more of those. He needs a couple more of those 92-yard receptions.
That play was awesome.
135 catches last year.
Yep.
I think it's natural. Like, that's such a huge number. I can't expect it every year.
Sure.
But he's your offense.
He is.
If I'm calling a play, I'm going to my best offensive player first. I'm going to CeeDee Lamb, and I'm even looking at the run game too. I need to make him part of my run game somehow.
Yeah.
Not just saying I have to hand the ball off to him, but how do I get short passes involved to create bigger plays like I would the run game? So I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb and saying, I got to figure all these different ways to get him the ball. But 135 catches is a lot. I think it would be a little bit of a dip and definitely down, especially the TD numbers. But if Zeke's going to get those short yardage touchdowns for you, Kevin, like Mickey's been predicting for all this time, like we can't hate on that.
Okay. All right.
So that's what you're saying is that Zeke's gonna scavenge some stuff from him.
Hey, if that's because he's scoring all the touchdowns, fine, I accept. For Dak Prescott, their stat projection, 4,078 yards, which would be a dip about 450, 27 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Last year, Dak had 36 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Now, he also finished second for MVP, so clearly he had a fantastic season. Do you think we'll see a slight scaling back of the Dak numbers this year as well? Although that could depend on whether or not CeeDee Lamb's good to go.
It's
Browns game.
CeeDee's the most important factor first. I think it's his connection with Brandon Cooks next that I got to figure out. If that's there and he can go 2 reads rather than being just solely focused in on CeeDee Lamb the whole time, Jake Ferguson's going to be open. Dak's so comfortable throwing to his tight ends. He understands where they are. He has a great feel for down the seam. But it's Brandon Cooks. If he's a viable option, Kevin, I'd put him right back up where those numbers were last year.
And then if you're curious about Micah's projected stats, they've got him at ESPN, that is, at 15 sacks, 67 tackles, and 1 forced fumble, which would be pretty close in line to what he did last year. He had 64 tackles, 14 sacks, and 1 forced fumble, as well as a fumble recovery. By the way, as long as we're talking about players who will and will not be there, not a big surprise, but still a good thing for the Cowboys. Nick Chubb was officially placed on the PUP, which means he will miss the first 4 games of the season, which will obviously then mean that he will miss the game against the Cowboys. So not a shock, but still got finalized today, so the Cowboys will avoid Nick Chubb in the opening game of the season.